how I think of adaptogens is filling up what I refer to as our body's vital reserve. Okay, so think about in our bodies, this is metaphorical, but if we have a reservoir that is our vitality, and anytime we are exposed to a stressor, which is inevitable, like there's stressors in the air that we breathe and the food and the, people honking at us, the news, we're always going to be exposed to stressors, and that's okay. The trick is, how do we not get stuck in that stress response state to the point that it becomes chronic? Because stress is wonderful. It's a short term. Our bodies go into a stress response state to keep us alive. So that's a brilliant tactic of evolution. But where it's become dangerous is when we're stuck in it.
We are back. What's going on, everybody? How's it going? All right, so listen, I can't wait to get into this episode, of course, but I am way more excited that I finally get to announce I am opening up my very own yoga studio in San Francisco. If you've, yay, insert the yay. I wonder if we can do that. If you've been following on Instagram, I've been keeping super secretive. I was hoping I was going to announce last week, but it just didn't get to happen. And so now I officially get to put it out there into the universe and into podcast land and into Instagram land that I am opening up my own space. So yeah, it's been a lot of hard work. It's interesting. This episode is entitled "Why Am I So Tired?" And I feel like the last collectively, me and a few friends and we've just been saying how tired we are. And I've been sleeping more and I've been taking more breaks and I have been, doing the Danny thing of not burning out instead of burning out. I've been really looking back, and Danielle came on the show and she just gave some insight on some really cool ways to look at how we can take care of ourselves, and so we talked about adaptogens and we get into it. And as I start to move forward in this journey of opening up a yoga studio, her advice really, really, really is hitting me pretty dang close to home. So I'm really excited to share a life hack that I learned from her with all of you. I didn't realize there was so much to, just different remedies outside of sleep, water, and the normal nutritional things that you normally think about, but some other things to tune in. Without further ado, here goes my request for a podcast review. So do not forget that the show only happens because of you. And so the more that we get this show out there to our friends, we share these episodes, we post on Instagram, and the more that we do reviews on iTunes, just the better this is for all of us, because I get to continue to do the show and share the journey. So head down to iTunes and leave us a review. And here goes episode 161. Hi, Danielle.
Hey.
I'm actually really excited to talk to you today.
Same.
I love talking to all my guests. Don't get me wrong. Truly, they're all great. But when I was reading the different things that me and you could chat about and what we could get into, I feel like I've just been complaining to my boyfriend for the last 6 weeks. Just I'm exhausted all of the time. And so, I look, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people experiencing so much, but I know that there's more information out there, or there's got to be things that I'm not looking at that can really, we can start to look at what's going on or what I'm missing. So that's just my my start to this. I'm excited.
Yeah. And you're not alone in being tired. And there's a lot of reasons for that, physically, emotionally, spiritually, just what we're all living through right now. We are tired, and no wonder. Look at the amount of stress that we are put against. It's I think about someone's body who's going off to space and the amount of stressors that they're exposed to in zero gravity. And it's that's what we're all experiencing every day, just through the news and the energy in the world. And it's exhausting our systems. And so no matter what we're eating or how much we're meditating or how much yoga we're doing, there is a lot of physical deficiencies in our body because of what we're utilizing to just cope with the daily stressors. Yeah.
So let's talk, before we really start to dive into this, Danielle, let's talk a little more about your background.
Yeah. There's a lot of different pieces to it. I guess on paper, I'm a registered herbalist of the American Herbalist Guild. That's kind of our one certifying body in the US that recognizes practitioners who work with the plants. And I'm a holistic nutritionist, so it's not as if I just prescribe herbal formulas. I look at what the body is up to as a whole and how can we use both supplements, nutrition, and herbs, as well as lifestyle practices to rebuild the foundation of the body so that symptoms disappear rather than treating symptoms. It's a really pretty much complete opposite approach to what most of us are used to in the West with medicine, but very traditional when we look at TCM or Ayurveda or folk cultures around the world. Like in many of these traditions, there was never this like, oh, here's the ailment and let's combat that. It was like, oh, why is the body not able to deal with that? Let's see what the body's missing and build the body up enough so that whatever temporary symptom is being expressed will dissolve once the body's strong enough to manage it. And so that's where real solutions come, right? That's like long-term solutions. So nutritionist, I teach mycology, which is the science and study of mushrooms. So specialize in functional mushroom-based treatment. And day to day, I'm the national educator at the functional food company 4Sigmatic, and currently writing a book. So I'm deep in the trenches of researching and writing right now, which has been really fun.
I saw that. I saw your little email responder. I was like, she's right. What do you mean? I do nothing. I hang out. I got nothing going on. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm like, oh, juggling?
I feel seen. I feel seen and attacked all at the same time.
Just seen.
Let's get into first off, we love 4Sigmatic. We love 4Sigmatic. How did you, man, there's so many ways that I want to go about this, but I guess it would be helpful for me to understand, why the mushroom. Why did you go there? Like, what made you want to go and study?
Yeah, I never thought it was about the mushroom. And now I look back and I'm like, oh, the mushrooms were part of every step. They're like these silent wizards that are like, look at me, look at me, look at me throughout all of it. And I like to say that you don't find the mushrooms find you. And if you've ever been on a forage or a mushroom hunt, that's really how it goes. I remember the first time I went and hunted for morels in the spring. I used to live in Colorado and I was so excited. I'm like, okay, I know exactly what to look for in the right trees and this amount of dampness. And I'm like out there looking for the morels. I was probably out there 3 hours and nothing. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I finally stopped and I had this like regroup session. I was out there with my best friend and we're just like, let's just enjoy where we're at. It's like look around and smell the trees and the essential oils from the forest and just kind of bathe in where we're at. I just took a moment and literally hadn't moved, was probably in this one spot for 5 or 10 minutes. And once I opened my eyes, we like did a little meditation or grounding, I looked down and I was standing in an uva ursi patch, which is another amazing herbal medicine. It's called kinnikinnick, but uva ursi patch, and there was a morel like a few inches from my foot, and it was like this moment of full surrender so that the mushrooms kind of reveal themselves to you. And that's like a very physical example of that happening. But through my work, whether it was studying, I've done permaculture design work, and compost was always a big piece of that. So like the mycorrhiza and the mycelial networks in the soil, were kind of rearing their heads. And then I studied in Asia and lived out there for about 3 years. And mushrooms are such a big part of both culinary practice as well as the medicine. Came back to the States, went to school for herbal medicine, and there was almost no classes or education around fungi in my grad school. And I was like, what? This is a big missing piece. So I kind of started being curious about fungi on my own. Like, why aren't we talking about this? And I started growing mushrooms and kind of just diving into my own work with that. And when I opened my clinical practice, I had no idea what kind of clients were going to come to me. And time again, it was people that said, I've tried everyone. You're my last resort. What can you do for me? And what that brought to the table was a lot of autoimmune conditions, chronic illness, ailments that the Western world was like, sorry, we don't have a name for that. We don't have a label for that. It doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's wrong with you. These people are like, there's a lot going on and no one sees me. And in these kind of extreme cases, there were very few herbs that were going to be both effective and safe enough for the kind of unknowns that these bodies were expressing. And so functional mushrooms, without knowing it, became the leading ingredient in these formulas I was making, and after a couple of years, I'm like, oh, I have a functional mushroom based practice. And again, I never chose it. They just kind of kept, it's like, I don't know, they chose me or something. And now I'm just so grateful. Like I owe everything to these mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're incredible.
I feel it. I've recently started to, I mean, maybe this is just in my own little bubble, the more awareness I'm a big fan of not trying to take as many medicines as possible. Like I don't love pumping my system with too much stuff. Although I do believe in Western medicine, like from time to time, there are certain, things that I do need to be cared for in a certain type of way. But I'm always looking for different, let's say like, I'm really big into life hack. I love that. Like there are certain, like when I discovered yoga nidra, I was like, where have I been with all, like, why did I resist or push back against this for so long? Because whenever I'm tired or like exhausted or whatever, I'll take a nidra and it's like, boom. It's almost like I've gotten like, 5 hours of sleep or whatever it is.
Yep.
I've started doing cold therapy and, I do cold showers now and, lemon water in the morning and things to really just like, how can I live my life as an optimal human? Right. Because the more that I live optimally, I can show up and teach and I can like do the thing and I can actually be present and I can lead by example, which is also an important part to this.
Yep.
So in my little journey of, life optimization and even just with yoga, which teaches me often to go and reflect and do self-care, I feel like mushroom therapy has come up a lot. And I'm going to say it brutally wrong, probably, but adaptogens and, like I don't really understand fully the benefits. And I have a feeling that there's got to be some sort of link to me being not only exhausted because I do the most, but I do sleep, I drink the water, like I do all the things that I'm supposed to, but there's got to be other things that I might be missing or blind spots that could maybe help me live a little more optimally. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, how do we, what kind of therapy, like, or what kind of, like in your world, when you're seeing what's going on with everybody around, right now, like what things are out there to help us? Like, what can we use to help us live a little more optimally right now?
Yeah. So adaptogens, you kind of broke the secret right there. And it's luckily not so much a secret anymore. It was for thousands of years. Adaptogens have been the most sacred, revered ingredient in the culture that they're coming from. So ashwagandha or tulsi in Ayurveda, like these are the number one medicines of this whole repertoire of different ingredients. In TCM in China, we have reishi that's been put on the like doorways of the emperor's palace, and it's illegal for common people with cordyceps too to even, if they find some of these mushrooms in the wild, illegal for them to take it themselves. They have to bring it to the emperor. Like
cacao, oh my gosh.
Cacao is an adaptogen, and in Mayan culture and Aztecs, like this has been used as a currency. Like these are the gold standards of the foods, the medicines on our planet, and we've begun to categorize them into this grouping called adaptogens. And first and foremost, they are just nutritionally speaking, the most abundantly nutrient-rich foods on the planet. Beyond that, there's a couple categories that, can classify what adaptogens are, but they're helping our bodies. They're non-toxic. You can't get addicted to them. They're pretty safe for almost all bodies. They have this balancing effect in the body. So we call that non-specific, which means they're not pushing our body in one direction or another. Even some of our lovely herbs, they have a direct effect in the body. It's like, you take valerian, it's going to put you to sleep, or you take, a green tea or a matcha, you're going to wake up. Like adaptogens work with the body that they're being ingested by to help that body find a state of balance, of equilibrium. And there's a lot of different ways they do this, through their immune modulating properties, through, this abundance of different antioxidant properties in them, through their work with the HPA axis and the endocrine system. But really what's important to know is they're helping bring our bodies into a state of balance. They're taking us out of the super high stress, fight or flight, stage that so many of us are in. And when we're in that level of functioning, our bodies think we're on survival mode. So all the other functions of being a human being, they go on airplane mode. It's like, I'm not thinking about whether I'm hungry or I'm tired or, I want to have sex right now or whatever other, human body.
Yeah, totally.
It's on the back seat. And so we have to consider how stressed we are, and especially in the past year, it's like, I don't deal with, no matter what someone comes to me with, if they have headaches or they're gaining or losing weight or they have a rash on their arm, whatever it might be, the first question is like, how's your stress response? Because are you kind of running on this autopilot state? And once we can get the body back into a state where it's like meditating and getting clear, and from that place, we can actually see what's going on in the body. But until then, you could just put Band-Aids on symptoms all day without treating what's really going on and building the body from the root. So adaptogens are the really, it's kind of like that life hack shortcut, powerhouse way to bring your body into a state of balance without doing that much, right? It's like we can add these. It's mind blowing to me how easy it is to get adaptogens into our life today. Like if you study the history of these, it's like you had to be so special to even get your hands on these. Like you would work your whole life or be willed the location of this, certain root on your deathbed, like passed on. And now it's like, these are in the shelves of our supermarkets and we don't know that they're there and what they can do for us. And we've never needed them more. And so I think that the gap to getting there is just the understanding, the conversation, the education, so we can realize, wow, that's my life hack right there. And I can, add it to my coffee. I can it's never been easier to take these things, and boy, do we need them.
Yeah. I one of my, I've been doing this year specifically, I'm doing a new habit every month, and not an actual well, I'm going to add this to my plate, but more, what am I going to drop from the past and how do I, then become a better leader, a better human, a better, whatever it is, a better, brother, better son, like all the things that what is it that I want to really grow into and how do I want to support a community kind of deal. So at the beginning of the year was like, all right, so I'm going to start meal prepping and I'm going to stop eating out. And it's been actually since mid-December, and I've just been loving it. I'm Instapotting everything. And it's first, we can do a whole episode on Instapot.
Yes.
It's the best. And, and then I did a different gym routine because all I was doing was yoga, right? That's all I've been doing. And it's starting to take a toll on my body, not the best way. And this last month, I decided to do no apps. That was one of the big, no more doom scrolling, no more Facebooking, unless it's work related, that's gone. It's just not happening. And all my devices are now out of my bedroom and they're not allowed in there, period.
Amazing.
No laptops, no nothing in there. So I'm thinking about this month, I kind of cheated and I skipped cold showers for a little bit and I kind of just forgot. And so I'm bringing them back this month.
Cool.
But my next month's goal, I'm thinking about adding some sort of different ritual. And, as we were getting ready to set this up, I was like, well, wouldn't it be cool for me to, talk to you a little more about what is going on in the world and how, like, what can I expect in 30 days of adaptogens? I'm so excited.
Yeah. So when you're talking about the cold showers, the different yoga practices, in my world, I call myself a vitalist practitioner, and that's kind of the field that I studied within. And it's all about raising our vital force. And this is nothing new. It's called chi or energy. Like, how can we raise our vitality to the highest extent possible so we can show up as the fullest version of who we are? And hydrotherapy, is one of the oldest ways to raise that vital force. We feel when we're in a cold shower, we feel that we're alive. We feel that vital force.
Right.
And how I think of adaptogens is filling up what I refer to as our body's vital reserve. Okay, so think about in our bodies, this is metaphorical, but if we have a reservoir that is our vitality, and anytime we are exposed to a stressor, which is inevitable, like there's stressors in the air that we breathe and the food and the, people honking at us, the news, we're always going to be exposed to stressors, and that's okay. The trick is, how do we not get stuck in that stress response state to the point that it becomes chronic? Because stress is wonderful. It's a short term. Our bodies go into a stress response state to keep us alive. So that's a brilliant tactic of evolution. But where it's become dangerous is when we're stuck in it. So it's not that stress in and of itself is bad. It's the long-term repeated stress and our body's not being able to get out of that state because we're deficient in a number of things. So we think of this vital reserve, we're constantly stressed and we're pulling from our reserve. It's like the reservoir is being drained. What adaptogens do is they're like filling up that reservoir. Okay, so it's not as if, oh my gosh, I'm super stressed, I need a pound reishi right now. Sure, it won't hurt you. It'll be, what it will be. It'll help you in a
reishi shots.
Yeah, reishi shots. That's amazing thought. It's like so opposite. Reishi's like so zen.
That's our next Instagram post. Reishi shots.
Yes. Oh my God. And then everyone's like chilling afterwards. Like, whoa. What? But yeah, like how can we fill up the vital reserve so that when the stressor hits, right, when there's that sense of drought, when we need to pull from it, it doesn't completely deplete us. So you bring adaptogens on board before you need to, filling up your vital reserve. And essentially what happens is you're still going to be exposed to a stressor, but your body will have the tools to more quickly and efficiently get out of that stress response state to bring your body back into a state of equilibrium, right? So this is key. I mean, if we can feel the stressor and get out of it, like that was what fight or flight was all about. Our bodies and our bloodstream is pumping with adrenaline and cortisol, among other hormones, giving us that quick sense of energy to fight or run. Not only do we not do that anymore, the stressors are coming like every few minutes. And so our bodies are stuck with these hormones pumping through us, and we need the tools like adaptogens being the most effective option to get us out of that state and back into this state of calm so we can actually be in our vitality. Does that make sense?
I think, 100%. I think about, I'm pretty, I'm well aware, a lot of people on the show know, like I went through the worst depression I'd ever had in my entire life last year, as a lot of us struggled just, with mental health in general last year because of the state of the world, right? Nothing's been easy for a lot of us. And that in combination of like the stress of all the studios closing and having to just, readjust life, I think really just hit me hard.
Yep.
And I'm a pretty, busy dude. I can do a lot. I have a lot going on and I can handle it, normally pretty well. But I felt like not only was I running on empty, but I was running on empty's tank.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, there were certain days where it was like taking a shower was a task, or even trying to like eat was a task because I felt so like there was nothing left in there. There was really there wasn't that vitality that you speak of. There wasn't that little extra something that I could just kind of lean back on sometimes and be like, oh, okay, you can, you got this until you have your next little resting area. And that makes me think too, in your experience, does something like adaptogens help with, like depression? And, does it, the body obviously works in so many different ways, right? It works together, and having the right nutrients in your system is super important for so many things. But is there any direct correlation with that?
Yes. And I'm like, how do I tiptoe around this as to like not make direct claims? Again, because it comes back to whatever the body is experiencing, if it's anxiety or depression or, an autoimmune condition, it's telling us that the body is not in a state of vitality. Okay. So rather than there's herbs that are directly antidepressant, we can make a great formula that's full of our St. John's wort and lemon balm and like address the depression. But that's not raising the body's vital force so that eventually you don't need that formula. It just serves as the Band-Aid. So even if the symptom being expressed is depression, or the label on that, I would encourage removing that label and looking at what is the body actually feeling? What are you actually experiencing? Okay, we can call it depression. What does that look like on a day-to-day? How's your stress level? How's your energy when you wake up in the morning? Motivation. How's your digestive health? And rebuilding and nourishing the body from this really grounded state. And then we see what symptoms dissolve or still remain. And I do want to say, when we talk about that really depleted state, you're not alone. And adaptogens aren't the only answer. So I see it's really tempting if you're in that kind of like rock bottom to reach for something like an adaptogen, because it does work and it makes you feel better pretty quickly. But that's not the holistic approach. So rather than, okay, I'm just going to like have this adaptogen as my lifeline, I want us to, one, look at adaptogens. There's a spectrum of adaptogens, a spectrum of most things, but there's really nourishing, gentle adaptogens. On that end, it's like ashwagandha and reishi and some of our berries. And on the more stimulating side, we have things like, our ginsengs and the various eleuthero and more kind of pushy. And so if you're coming from a really depleted, exhausted state, it's critical to take the really, really nourishing adaptogens, right? Almost like nutritive approach, rebuild your digestive health first and foremost, because so much of our endocrine system is dependent on the health of our gut. So rebuilding, the gut lining, flooding the body with pre and probiotics, like really supporting that root center, nutritive adaptogens, lifestyle practices, whether it's meditation or yoga. And then we begin to build and hopefully raise the vital force enough that those symptoms associated with what we label depression begin to, subside.
Yeah, I agree. That's something, with everything. It's not just the one-stop shop, and it's not the silver bullet that's going to make everything happen. In addition to meditation, in addition to, the introspection work, in addition to, the breath work, in addition to the cold therapy work, there is also, this is also important to do as well. And it's not just, I think that's such a great point made. Like, it's not just a one-stop shop and then you're done and then you call it a day and you feel good and then you stop doing it. You have to continue to do it, but recognize that when you do, you're going to feel better for a lot longer term.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a holistic is where it's at, right? That's where we see the long-term effects. And of course we can link direct, like, okay, if you meditate for this amount of time, symptoms of X, Y, or Z have been shown to go down. And we could say the same things with, different adaptogens or superfoods. It's like pointing to a specific compound. We have like this compound called PEA in cacao that, is like neurotransmitters in the brain. There's different markers where they're lower in people that have depression. And so if we take cacao, it activates these neurotransmitters, and we can pinpoint that and say, okay, yeah, cacao for depression. But I think that's selling ourselves short. And it's almost like not doing justice to ourselves to just have this pill for an ill kind of thing, or ingredient for an ailment. And so how can we bring these different pieces on board to fill us up, to raise our vitality in all the different areas? Because vitality isn't just physical or emotional or spiritual. Vitality encompasses it all. And so we have to ourselves as a big round pizza, and we have all these different slices that fill us up. We've got to nurture each of them to be whole.
Right. You were mentioning earlier, when we're in that just stress, and then you finally hit it's either like that crash or that pause, but direct for me is going. And then I hit that crash button really hard in December. And I kind of, just decided to make some the big changes that I decided to do this year. It was like, okay, what life changes, not what new habits, not 20 days to, a calmer mind, or, a week to a six pack or any of that, but like how is it that I actually want to live moving forward? And how do I want to wake up every day, not just in the outside, but in the inside. Yeah. And I have to say, taking 2 weeks off with no work, which I hadn't done in like 5 years, within like day 4, after sleeping almost 12 hours every night, I woke up and was just like, you're tired. You're tired. Yeah. You needed a long nap. Mm-hmm. And even after, just the end of those 4 days at first was like, wow, I could actually think again. The things that I thought that were so confusing. And so, I wasn't really sure of, like, no, I totally had the right answers. I just needed a little space and permission to breathe. But we get pushed so hard. We almost glorify, I've talked about this plenty of times on the show, we glorify being pushed. Yep. We glorify doing the most. Yep. We glorify go versus, what is it? I think about your vitality approach. Like, what does a vital life for me look like? That's not just feeling good, but also having balance. Yep. Being able to have some time off, being able to, enjoy a fun conversation with a new friend on a podcast because it's something that fills you up and it's not like a forced thing to do. It's more than just, make these goals, hit these targets, keep doing the most. Okay. The next thing is, blah, blah, blah. How much money do you have now? And da. But like how actually the framework now has changed to like, what do I want it to feel like? And how do I want it to be expressed, both internal and external? Yeah. Where did you go on your time off? I sat here in this house. Nice. And I turned off the internet, which was, I completely shut off my phone. Okay. I was very like, listen, for 4 days, I'm going to be offline. I needed to just kind of get lost and find myself. And I did. I was really, that's really where the whole, like, let's unplug the phone at night and let's not bring any electronics upstairs. And, all that really came about. And it's been such a game changer. Yeah. There's still some days where I like try to like break the rules a little bit. And I just have to remind myself, like, look, Danny, no one's going to police you on this. Just like no one's going to police me on taking the adaptogens and, all the other things that I know are going to make me feel better. I get to discern, how do I want to feel? Yeah. And so if it's something as easy as ordering some mushrooms, that knowing that it's going to continue to make my life better and, I'm going to continue to think more clear and all the things, it may be sometimes tough, but I'll do it. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing that you were just there, because I was thinking, the last time I took a big break was just over a year ago, and I went and sailed from Panama to Colombia. So I was fully disconnected on a boat in the middle of the ocean for a week. And the amount of insights and energy and peace that flooded through me. I remember I recorded on a podcast right when I came back, and I was like, what mental state was I? It was so different than any other show. It's like, we all just got to see the world and like go travel. And, and you were talking about that glorification of the push. I feel that travel is such a key indicator for that.
And this became so clear. And maybe it's just, unplugging in our own house, which is more doable today, but it's not everywhere in the world that glorifies that push, push, push. Like I used to live in India, and there's different 3 doshas, in all different types of folk medicine. There's different body types. Like in the West, it's very new to feel like everybody's the same. So in Ayurveda, there's these 3 doshas, Pitta being the fire, Kapha, earth, and Vata being the air element. And Kapha, or the earth, grounded, chill, like that is what's glorified. And it was so fascinating to me when I was living there. They're like, oh, if someone's like super successful or running all the time or like grinding, they're like, oh, that person's so off balance, like Pitta imbalance, like they're way too fiery. And that's me. I'm like so much fire, like, and they're like, eek, yeah, you got work to do, girl. And my friend that I was with was like so chill, and like just really caught the energy and grounded and calm. And like, they're like, yeah, that's amazing. She's got it going on. Like, that's what you need to do to be able to sit and meditate, or like, that's the gold standard. And so it's helpful to kind of just get out of our own bubble and realize like, this isn't normal. It's not just like that we should all grind as hard as we can as humans. We've created that mindset in this place that we live. And it's not what success looks like for the rest of the world. And it's probably not what success looks like for a lot of us if we really break it down. So yeah, I think what is health? What does success actually look like for you? What does it actually feel like? And we have a little bit of a upper hand to combat what we're told it looks like. We're told it's like the more you do, the better you are, the more money you make, the better you are. And we see people that do grind all the time or do have the most money, like that does not correlate to being the happiest or most fulfilled or most in love. Like I've lived with hill tribe villagers in the backcountry of Thailand, and it's like the happiest people, most generous people I know. And they don't have anything. And so we really have to like refocus and like pull ourselves out of the grind that we're just, it's autopilot, so we have to be extra aware of what we're in and how can we take a moment to look at, is this really how I want to feel? Is this what success and abundance and vitality looks like for me? Maybe, maybe not. And then from that place, we get the chance to recreate and step into the practices that actually bring us to our own unique vitality.
And at least if you're going to go that hard, get some adaptogens in your body.
100%. Yeah. And we've always that's the wild thing. Like we're going this hard and we're not even using adaptogens. Like forever we've relied on these ingredients to keep us going. It's like if you were, going out to fight in a battle, you were pumped up with adaptogens beforehand. Like if you were, after giving birth, you had certain adaptogens to take with you. Like no matter what, it's like, oh, this is like a requirement to do what we have to do. And now we're running full steam ahead, maybe faster than ever. And we've forgotten that we have these like allies. Like these are our helpers. These are our friends to keep us fueled to do what we've got to do. And so, yeah, it's such a no-brainer. If there's one simple thing, bring the most powerful foods on earth into your body. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to share my journey with adaptogens coming this next month, and I'll definitely stay in touch with you. And we'll kind of, I'm curious to see what my energy level is going to be like this next month. Going from 0 to the whole 30 days with it. But that's going to be my commitment, is to keep doing it every single day and see what I feel like throughout it.
Perfect. I want you to I do this with my clients, a before checklist and then an after checklist. Because when symptoms fall away, we forget. It's this really weird human thing. We're like, oh, I forgot that I, had digestive issues every day for the last 4 years. Like they're gone now. And so I'll send you this little checklist and you will rate, how well you're focusing, your digestion, your sleep, your energy levels. You'll put it away, take the adaptogens every day for a month, and then fill out the same form. You can compare them side to side. And that's like the best evidence for yourself to really see how your body shifted.
Oh, that's perfect. We'll maybe do a PDF of that in the show notes, and we'll invite all the listeners to maybe do the same with me for the next month of April. We'll do 30 days of adaptogens and see how we feel.
Let's do it. I love it.
Danielle, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you coming in and sharing your knowledge. And I was just so curious as to, how I know I want to continue to live a great healthy lifestyle. And I know the listeners are not only yoga practitioners, but also into living better themselves. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge.
You bet. Thanks so much for having me.
Until the next Seeker and Sage, this is Danny and Danielle saying peace out.
Peace out.